What's up, y'all? We're back again, and I did a video earlier where I did a speed round one where I just flew through all the picks. I got all 31 picks in like 3 minutes and like 50 seconds, under 4 minutes. And I was the whole point of that was to just instinctually just like quickly go through every pick, just name them and go as I felt through it. And now this one is what I said earlier is I'm going to post a full round one again later today. And here we are. So in this one, I'm going to explain the picks a little better. I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking with every single pick. And it's going to look a little different than the last one. It's not going to be all the same picks. It's different picks where I'm actually thinking through a little more instead of just quickly, looking for a guy that I think fits. So it's just a different whole dealio here. And so hopefully you're going to enjoy this content if you're clicking on here to see what I think for every team. But once again, like and subscribe if you're into football, if you like the draft, if you like just content in general. I'm going to be keep pushing stuff out. Let me know what you want in the comments, like any sort of ideas you have, reactions, prospect rankings, or anything like that, right? Let me know. And yeah, let's get started, baby. So with the first pick in the 2023 NFL draft, I'm taking Bryce Young. To me, this is honestly fairly easy. I do think that Bryce Young is the best quarterback in this draft. Also, another thing, the GM of the Panthers was involved in the staff of the Seahawks when they drafted Russell Wilson. He wasn't the GM, obviously, that's John Snyder, but he was involved in that process with the Seahawks at that point. And so he isn't opposed to short quarterbacks, obviously. He actually discussed that Russell Wilson was a great quarterback in college and that they felt that they could, he would be fine in the league based on what they saw. And so I imagine he would see similar things with Bryce Young. So I'm not really concerned about that, if I'm honest. I think that that's the pick, and I think he's the best quarterback. Pick two, there's a lot of smoke. Oh, I don't know if it's smoke, actually. There's a lot of trusted resources saying that the Texans will not take a quarterback at two and try to get a quarterback with their second first round pick, either at 12 or trading back up to like 3, 5, 7, like trade back up and get another quarterback. But I don't know, man, that just seems like risky way to do business, if I'm being honest. And I think the Texans will want the best other quarterback available. I don't know unless, if they really don't like these guys, I could see that happening. But personally, I think it's kind of smoke. It's trying to throw things off, throw people off their scent and see what happens because they could kind of, you know, impact the draft in other ways by throwing people off guard by drafting a quarterback there or by not. So I think they're keeping their options open. But I do think you prioritize the quarterback position here because they've gone so long since they've been relevant, I guess. Just Sean Watson wasn't that long ago. I think it was like what 3 seasons ago that they're a pretty good team, but maybe four. I don't know. But what I'm getting at is they need stability. They haven't been a consistently good franchise over a long period of time, and I think you need a good quarterback to do it. And so I'm taking CJ Stroud here because I think that's the pick that helps them get started in that direction. I think they have a great head coach. I do think they'll be a good defensive player or offensive weapon or something available to build their team at pick 12. I don't think you play chicken with quarterbacks though. That's just my opinion because you got to keep moving forward. You got to keep pushing and make things happen now. And I think you can build around that quarterback that you get here. The Cardinals, they just need good players, man. I think they take Will Anderson. I think he's a scheme fit and an instant impact player. That's the way I view it. I think it's pretty simple, pretty chalky. If they stay at this pick, I think Will Anderson's the guy. That's just my opinion, though. At pick 4, the Colts, man, I really do think it's Anthony Richardson. I think that's a great fit. I really do. And that's based on the fact that I think he can sit for a year there. They have Gardner Minshew, who isn't by any means a great starting quarterback, but I think he's solid enough that they can get through this season without needing to throw their young quarterback into the deep water, man. I think they can let him sit and learn the playbook, adjust to their scheme, build their playbook around him for the future so that year 2 he can come in after Minshew's 1 year deal is over and come in and just play, compete, and really help that team get to the next level. So that's what I want to see with them. There's him sit for a year behind Gardner and just try to soak up between that coaching staff and all the guys there. Pick 5, if I'm the Seahawks, I'm picking Jalen Carter. There's a couple other options I'd consider here, and that would be Devon Witherspoon because I think he's a stud at corner. I would consider Peter Skronsky to fortify that line, but I prefer that with like a trade down if possible. Those are just things I'm looking at, but I think Jalen Carter is simply the best player on the board. I think he's the best defensive player in this draft. Obviously, there's off the field concerns, and that's why he's here, truthfully, because if it wasn't for those concerns, he would probably be the pick for the Cardinals at 3. if or the Texans at 2 if they didn't take quarterback. Like that's just my opinion. So that's what I'm looking at here. 6 for the Lions. To me, it's Devon Witherspoon. They just traded away Jeff Okudah. They did get a couple free agent corners, but I think Devon Witherspoon's a difference maker. I think that just makes their secondary borderline elite. I mean, they got great players back there. So that's what I like for them. Will Levis here at 7 is my pick. I don't have the highest view on Will Levis, but I think this is a good fit. The Raiders don't have to give up any additional assets to move forward. They can just sit and he falls in their lap. And I think that works out well for them because they have Jimmy Garoppolo. Will Levis is a guy similar to Anthony Richardson who needs time to develop. He needs a year or two to sit and really just refine his game. And so I think if you do that and let him sit behind Jimmy G, let Jimmy G hold the fort for about 2 years, a year or two, and then you put Will Levis in and let him really elevate that team with his arm talent. And hopefully he's dialed in, settled in, worked on some accuracy, worked on his timing, his rhythm, and you've really just built a good player. So that's what you hope for if you're the Raiders. And I think that's a good situation. 8 to the Falcons, man. I'm taking Christian Gonzalez. I think they like him as a corner. I think they're into the corner class. I really do. And Gonzalez, I think, is a good value player at this position. I think he's one of the best players in the draft. I think him and Devon Witherspoon are very similar. I'd give the edge to Witherspoon, and that's why he goes to the line so high, because I think he's a slightly better player. But Christian Gonzalez is a great prospect and a freaky athlete. So I really like that pick as well. The Bears at pick 9, I think they need playmakers on defense. I really do. And so I think they take Tyree Wilson here. I think that this is appropriate value for him. I think him as a top 5 player is not my favorite. He does have top 5 traits, like physical profile, but I think as a prospect, he needs a little more time to really make that impact. But I think for the Bears at pick 9, I think that's solid value. I think that makes sense for where he would be as far as a prospect rank. So I really like that fit there. And he comes in that scheme and he can really make some plays on the ball, get some tackles for loss, maybe get a couple sacks his rookie year, but more so I think he'd be a disruptor. And that's what you need in that defense. You need a disruptor, a player that can the offense has to account for. And so I think that's a stepping stone that the Bears can build around as they really get this thing together the next couple of years. Eagles at pick 10. I mean, the Eagles are evil, man. They are such a good team. They are coached so well. They have such an elite top tier GM. They just extended Jalen Hurts yesterday, I believe, at the time of recording. And so, man, I really like this. I like that deal with Jalen Hurts, low cap hits for the next few years too. I think it's phenomenal. I really do. And so I think for them, what you do is you're looking for the future and this year, because obviously they're a contender right now with the roster they already have, but you're trying to decide, okay, what are we building? How have we gotten here? And I think they've gotten to this point by investing in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line, with premium draft picks. So they have a constant rotation of high quality players running through. And I think Peter Skoronski is the best offensive lineman in this draft overall. I think he'll have to play guard to unlock that potential of the league just through his size and measurables. But I think that the Eagles are a team that can do that. That's just my opinion. I think they can do that because he can step in right now and be a starter at guard for them. And I think that's what you do. He builds that team, and he also gives you, for the future, as guys start to leave, you have one guy that's already there. You have a young left tackle, and you'll have a young right guard. The left guard is pretty young too. And so you have to worry about center and right tackle as the future comes up, but you put a building block and a very elite level guard prospect in that spot right now. And I think that makes that team better starting this year and protects him for the future. And so I think that's what you do if you're the Eagles. I think you take Peter Skoronski and you are stoked. The Titans at pick 11, I think they want a guy like Paris Johnson. I really do. They lost Taylor Lewan. Paris Johnson is like a very good left tackle mold. He's also played guard, so you have some flexibility there. That's more so the fact he can do both the right drop, kick steps, and the left side. He's played on both sides of the line at guard and tackle, so that gives you a lot of flexibility. But I think he comes in and he's your starting left tackle. He's a very athletic guy. I think he'll do good things for you both in the run game and in the pass game due to his athleticism, and that's what they want to build around. So I think that's a guy you take and you're stoked about. Now, 12 for the Texans. I think you can look at a couple different things here. I think that if you want to go defensive side, you can take a guy like Lucas Van Ness or Deonte Banks, Joey Porter. I think Joey Porter would be the better fit between the two corners due to his length and his technique, his press game. And he's so physical at the line of scrimmage. And I think that's what you want for a Texans corner under DeMeco Ryans. But On offensive side, they got CJ Stroud. I think giving him his wide receiver is something that makes the transition a little easier to the NFL. That's the one you want to do is protect your wide receiver, your quarterback. Give him something he knows. Give him something he has chemistry with already built in. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking Jackson Smith and Jigba here, and that wide receiver group has already gotten a huge boost over what it was before. So I think that's a great group from. They got Don Schultz as well, tight end on a 1 year deal, in JSN in there, and then having hopefully John Mechie back this year to start making impact plays. And then they also signed, I think, Robert Woods, if I remember correctly. You have a more competent receiving group due to this pick, and I think that's something you need on offense. They got a solid offensive line going in front of them. They're building something good there. I really think that this is a great pick for them. 13 to the Jets. I really like Broderick Jones here. I think they want a left tackle that's young and they can build for in the future. Where you at? Where you at? From Georgia. I think, to me, Darnell Wright is the better player, but he's a right tackle kind of guy. You know what I mean? He's going to play right tackle. Anton Harrison is also a guy there, but I like Broderick Jones better than Anton Harrison, but less than Darnell Wright overall. But left tackle is what they want, and I don't think you invest a first round pick in a guy that you're trying to force to change positions and do something he hasn't done. That's just my opinion, though. 14 to the Pats, man. What do they do here? What do you think, guys? Let me know what you're thinking about him. I like Lucas Van Ness from get a playmaker on defense. I think this is a guy that can kind of learn from the likes of a Matthew Judon, and they're not they're not clones by any means, but it's a big edge defender who's athletic, can do so many versatile things for you, get after the passer, but is also going to be a dog in the run game. I think you get a weapon. You get a weapon, a guy that teams have to account for. And that's what I love is getting players that other teams have to consciously think about every single play. And I think Lucas Van Ness gives you that. Whether or not he's pretty raw as a prospect, he has a lot of things that he needs to work out, but he's such a physical, athletic, strong player. And I think that you add that to a team like the Patriots, and you build from the front back. That's just my method. So I think that's a great way to go. Helps their DBs, helps their linebackers. It just makes that team better. 15 to the Packers. I'd consider a guy like Quentin Johnston. Get Jordan Love a little friend in there to help him out. But I'm actually going to go Dalton Kincaid here. I think tight end is a sneaky need for him. That's not even sneaky. It's just a need. But he's a great receiving tight end too. He's a weapon. He's a weapon at tight end who can be a safety blanket and get open and make plays for Jordan Love. I think you got young receivers there that you can hopefully continue to build on later in this draft as well, like second, third rounds, even into the fourth round. You can get impact players that can step in and do something for that team, be a depth player. But you protect your quarterback. You can't throw him out into the fire with no weapons. So I think Dalton Kincaid's the best value weapon available here. Washington at 16. I like corner for them. What else do we got available? I don't think Elijah Cansey would really fit in that defense. I mean, they could make a role for him, definitely, but I think he's more of a third down player early in his career, mostly due to his size. I think, if you can really mess around with his positioning on the field, maybe throw him at like something crazy, like put him wide outside on running downs, and that'd be a bigger edge guy or like a big end, like something similar to that. You can get him in there on run downs, but it's going to be a lot harder for him to hold up there. But third downs, you can kick him inside to a 3 technique or maybe as wide as a 5, and you just kind of have him get after the passer, give guards hell. So I like that idea there. But for them, Quentin Johnston could also be an interesting piece. I really think that could be kind of freaky for them. But my favorite thing for them here would probably be Joey Porter Jr. Add some physicality there at corner. And I think that you build you build that secondary up and kind of help build that team forward. I don't think Elijah Cansey fits that mold early enough at this pick 16. 17 to Pittsburgh. I really do think that Deonte Banks is probably the pick here at corner. But I also like the idea of fortifying the offensive line with a guy like O'Cyrus Torrence. I really do. I really like that idea. But I am going to go corner here, I think, for them, because I think that fits the best for them. Deonte Banks, I think, is a good player. Him and Porter, I think, are very neck and neck, depending on who you ask. Some view Banks as higher, some view Porter higher. It's just, I think, scheme fit, and I think physicality. You like Porter, and if Porter makes it to 17, I think he's a Steeler. But I think in this case, they're happy to take Banks as well. 18 to the Lions. I really like the idea of Nolan Smith here. I think he's a great edge player. He adds some juice to that team. I think you can mess around and move him around that defensive line and even throw him at linebacker, just like move him and make him a weapon. I think he's just a very athletic player. He's not going to be playing. When I say move him along line, you're not putting him like interior or anything crazy because he's a small guy. But edges, you have him maybe play some off ball and rush the passer from off ball, or have him do you move a guy who's a freak athlete like that around the defense. You move his alignment to make the offense think about it and try to get matchups that you like. But I think that'd be a great fit for them here. I really do. Miles Murphy's also a guy I'd consider here. He's a bigger athletic guy as well. They could really do a lot of things here. They could add Quentin Johnston and just make that receiving room monstrous. I really think that would be an interesting thing to do as well. Oh my goodness, that's an option. But I'm gonna go Nolan Smith. I think this just feels like a fit, like a Lions kind of player. The way he talks about football, he's a good run defender as well. I think that just would be fun to tinker with. The Bucks here at 19, I think they take a guy like Anton Harrison, play left tackle. That's a huge need for them. They need to have a guy to protect whatever young quarterback they end up getting in the next couple of years. But Baker's going to be the guy this year, most likely. Maybe Kyle Trask does something special in camp, but that's just my opinion. Here, if you're looking at Seattle, I mean, Quentin Johnston's still on the board. I don't personally like that. Here, I don't think that that's the thing that the Seahawks really need. I mean, wide receiver is a need, but I don't think Quentin Johnston is the guy I'd go for. If I'm going for wide receiver here, I'm going for Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison probably. But let's see. Who do we like? What do we like? If we're the Seahawks, Miles Murphy is very intriguing player to throw along that D line and make kind of a weapon out of. I think again, Kalijah Kancey could be something interesting here. He's a guy that you can use as a weapon, kind of mess with his alignment. I do like that possibility a lot for the Seahawks. I really do. Earlier I took Miles Murphy. You could go, I mean, some people would like Michael Mayer, but I think that's a little early, not based on the player. I think Michael Mayer's worth the 20th pick if that happened. I just think we have good tight ends, even though they're under contract only 1 year. I think you can build that later in the draft. Since I took Miles Murphy earlier, I'm gonna go with Kalijah Kancey, add a weapon to that defense for pass rush, interior pass rush, and hopefully you can mess with his alignment and get him in on rundowns too in some way because he's a valuable player. You want that player on the field as much as you can get him. But that's an interesting pick for me there, I think. The Chargers at 21, I did pick Bijan earlier, and that's because I think that Austin Eckler dispute, you don't know how that's going to end, and Bijan's going to put you within a high-quality running back on a rookie deal for the next few years, and that's a great thing you can get out of that. But I also like the idea of adding Zay Flowers, and that's what I'm going to do in this hypothetical is I'm going to add Zay Flowers, and he's going to be a vertical threat. They just have desperately needed speed the last few years to really stretch a defense so that helps underneath and deep passing game, man. They just have desperately needed that as well as just a third weapon that's truly a great talent. I think Zay Flowers brings that to the table. 22 to the Ravens. I'm going Quentin Johnston here. They need more receivers. They need to invest in receiver for Lamar Jackson if they want him to play. I think he's a big receiver. I think he'd complement what they got in other guys. I think their starting lineup of Odell Beckham, Quentin Johnston, and Rashad Bateman would be a lot better than what they got right now or what they had going into before the Odell signing and stuff. I think that's how you build a group. You add different traits. Quentin Johnston's a bigger, taller guy who can do some things like that. He can make some bigger contested plays, be a big body that you need. But he's also fairly athletic. Not a great athlete, but fairly athletic for sure. He's a very explosive as far as vertical jumping athlete, but he isn't super fast. He's a low 4.5s guy, but nonetheless, he's a playmaker that they need. And I think he'd complement Odell's route running, possession catching ability. Rashad Bateman also is a guy who can stretch the field, do underneath things. They also got like Devin Duvernay as a rotational guy. I think that's a good receiving room that you can try to build on. So I do like that fit there. 23 to the Vikings. I'm switching up. I'm going Miles Murphy here, I think. I do like that fit for them. I think that adds another big edge guy that can kind of in the form of a Danielle Hunter kind of guy. You're trying to he can be a guy that can learn under him. Not that they're the same player, but you're getting guys who can fit into the role and build for the future. I like Miles Murphy to them, and I think that adds a weapon on defense. Jaguars, I do like Brian Branch still. He's a great player. He's not the most athletically gifted guy, but he's athletic enough to get by. He's a great, smart player. He'll be able to play in the nickel. He'll be able to play some safety. You can move him around. I think that's a great player at a great value for the Jaguars. 25 to the Giants. Darnell Wright would be something if they didn't just draft Evan Neal. Hopefully Evan Neal ends up playing better this year, but yeah, you're right. Tackle for the future. I like interior O-line for them. Receiver's been a big talk, but I think if you draft a guy like Jordan Addison here, you're kind of just expanding on the same type of players you have. I think if Quentin Johnston's here, that's a fit because he's a bigger guy and it just changes what they have. but I don't know how I feel about it overall. I think that I think that honestly, with the whole uh Barkley deal, Bijan would be enticing. That'd be a funny little wrinkle if they if Barkley got traded or something and Bijan stepped in and did the same thing. But anyway, I do really like how this is sitting for them. I think that there's guys available like O'Cyrus Torrence, and that's what I'm going to go for here is build that interior offensive line because if you're really committed to Daniel Jones, if you're committed to the run game, if you're committed to Barkley in any real way, you're building a line in front of them that can do something long term. And you got young guys, you got a great left tackle, you got a young top 10 pick at right tackle. Build that interior better. Really just commit to making a better offensive line, and that'll help both aspects of the passing and run game. 26, if I'm Dallas, I'm genuinely thinking about Bijan here. Because think about what they desired to have with Zeke and Tony Pollard, they could genuinely have now. Like last couple years when Zeke's been falling off, they could really have that dynamic together. I think that'd be a great, great, great lineup for that offense. And that offense becomes super dangerous. I really like that fit, if I'm being truthful. And so I'm going to think about that there. I'm thinking about Michael Mayer here. And I do think Michael Mayer is the ultimate. Well, Bijan's, again, a great weapon, but I think they can get a good rotational back. Not nearly as good as Bijan, to clarify. But I think Michael Mayer is a great tight end, and I think that helps expand their offense too. And I think they can get him and a second, third, fourth round running back that can impact the game and be a contrast to really let Tony Pollard shine rather than if you get Bijan, you're limiting Tony Pollard again to a similar role he had before Zeke fell off. So that's just my opinion. I think you get Michael Mayer so you can let all your players shine like a star. God, Dallas. I'm funny. I know. Anyway, Buffalo. You like James Cook, or else Bijan would be something you consider. Jordan Addison's a great player. That's a interesting fit there as well. I think again you consider building an offensive line for Josh Allen still. Darnell Wright could be interesting there. Who do they got a right tackle? Oh, the right tackle is not that good actually. I like this for Darnell Wright. This is my Darnell Wright pick. I know they have a young right tackle, but he did underperform in my opinion. I think they need help there. I think Darnell Wright's a guy you pick and he plugs in and plays really well for them right now. And so I think you want to fortify that line both in the run game and pass game so you can really help Josh Allen play well. I think they needed a guy who can help them run the ball better and pass better and be protected for Josh Allen so they can get past that hump, man. They just haven't been able to make it to the Super Bowl. They haven't been able to make it out of the division. Well, last year they got whooped in the divisional round. They need to make it past that championship. They need to be a real contender. I think Darnell Wright helps that happen. 28, I'm sprinting in the card for Bijan Robinson if I'm the Bengals. Joe Mixon has been falling off. That's the simple truth. He's had a high workload for the last few years, and he's going to start slowing down. He's already started slowing down, but I think if you add Bijan to that room, you have a weapon out of the backfield. I mean, that is an elite running back prospect. And I think that makes that offense even better right away. Adds a really good run game, and you'd love to see that for them, man. The Saints, I think they go Brian Brzee. I don't love him as a prospect. I could also see them going, where's Adebawore? Yeah, I could also see him going Adebawore here. But I think they want someone that can move around and use differently in that interior D line. They lost Marcus Davenport. That's what I think of here when I look at the Saints. That's just my opinion. Eagles here, I have two thoughts, right? I have Jordan Addison and I have Felix Anudike-Uzomah to keep adding to that rotation of pass rushers. Again, they hit ball in the trenches. Even Mazi Smith would be interesting, but they have their interior line definitely set up way too well to consider that, in my opinion. But they just like to invest in trenches. But to me, I think where they lacked a little last year on the offensive side of the ball was wide receiver 3, Quez Watkins. He underperformed what your expectation is of him. I think he'd be a great wide receiver 4 behind Jordan Addison. But I think right now you scream, wow. And you get that quarterback you just invested $255 million, I believe, if I'm correct, on that extension, and you get him a weapon on offense like Jordan Addison who can get open. You have 3 really, really, really good. I mean, you have, in my opinion, probably the best receiving core in the league if you do that. Just like on paper that I can think of right now. Maybe I'm not thinking. I mean, the Bengals obviously give you a really good run for your money, but I think you're up there for sure in the top 3 weapon cores there, receiver, and you got a great tight end. You have a great offensive line because you invested in that earlier in this first round as well. I think that's scary to think about than having Jordan Addison as wide receiver 3 too. Man, But the Chiefs here, I think this is where Uzama comes off the board. I think they need a big edge to replace Frank Clark. I think this guy, he's I think he could do a similar thing that Frank Clark was doing for that team. And I really like this fit. I really do. I think it'd be very interesting to see how that play out for them. And I think that he had more pass rush to that team and get even more dangerous. That's how I feel, man. I think it's a great fit for them. So I don't know if this will load up. It's having trouble loading right now, but like I'm saying, man, please let me know what you think in the comments of this. If you think I did the wrong thing with your team, please let me know what you would do. What would you do in this position? What guys do you like? What fits do you like? So I'm thinking about doing a video where I react to the comments where you guys are telling me what fits you like for teams. So tell me what players you like with what teams. If we get enough comments there, we can think about doing a reaction video. If not, I just like to have the discussion, talk football, man. That's what we're here to do. So like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. If not, that's okay. But I'm just here to talk some ball, man. So peace.